"You're going to be okay," Rachel said, and she said it the way you'd say it to a man on a ladder. She was already in her scrubs at 5:40, lanyard around her neck, hair clipped up, the long thin coat she wore in the parking lot folded over her arm. The kitchen light was the only light on in the house. Outside the window, the maple was bare on the north side and the rest of it was the color of a brown paper bag. Sam Vance was at the table in a t-shirt and sweatpants, his hands wrapped around a mug he had not yet drunk from. He nodded at her once. "I packed Eli's lunch," he said. "Tuna without the celery, the way he likes it. You're a hero." "I haven't done it yet." "You're still a hero," she said, and put her hand on the back of his neck the way she had been doing for 16 years. The same hand, the same weight. 12-hour shift. "I might have to swap onto the back end of nights this week," they asked. "You said yes." "I said yes." He looked up. He had known her face longer than he had known how to drive, and he could still find a new thing in it on a Monday at 5:40 in October. She was tired in a way she had not been a week ago, and she was also lifted, the way a person is lifted when they pick up a thing they have always been able to pick up. "You good?" she said. "I'm good." The bus is 7:52 for Maddie, and the elementary kindergarten run is 8 to 10. "I know." "You don't know." "You think you know." Sam. She kissed him on the forehead, then on the mouth, both quick, both familiar. "There's a list on the fridge. Lily takes off her shoes at the door now or she won't walk in. Eli will say he isn't hungry, he's hungry. Maddie needs a permission slip signed by Wednesday for the planetarium." She picked up the long coat. "If anyone asks you what you do all day this week, the answer is, I keep the kids alive and I keep the house standing. That is a whole entire job." "Yes, ma'am." She paused at the door with her hand on the knob. "And, Sam, yeah, I love you. I love you too." She went out. The storm door bumped twice because the closer was old. He listened to her car start and back out and turn down Linden, and then he listened to nothing. The Monday after he had been laid off, the house was as quiet as a chapel. Sam Vance was 41, and he had been a project engineer at Carolina Switchgear for 14 years. On Friday, a man from Charlotte in a Navy windbreaker had stood up in the cafeteria and said, "Times, strategic consolidation times, and times effective immediately," and 146 people had nodded as if they had been waiting all year for the words to arrive. The severance packet was on the dresser upstairs. It was generous in the way that meant they had been planning it for a while. He had not told his children yet. He had told Rachel in the truck on Friday at 4:30, parked behind the credit union, and she had not cried. She had taken a long breath and then a longer one and said, "Okay, I'm picking up 2 doubles a week starting Monday. The unit's been begging. We're going to be all right." We're going to be all right," she had said again, in the voice she used when a patient was crashing and her job was to put her hands on the rails of the bed and not move. "We have savings. We have me. We have you. You are going to figure out what comes next, and the kids are going to be fed, and the house is going to stand up, and that is what we are going to do." He had loved her so much in that truck that he had not known where to put it. Now it was Monday. The house was quiet. The mug in his hands had gone lukewarm. Upstairs, a small foot hit the floor. Maddie was 11 and built like a heron, all leg and elbow, and she came down the stairs already dressed in jeans and the navy hoodie she had worn 3 days running. Lily was 7 and had a cowlick exactly like her mother's that she pretended to hate. Eli was 9, a quiet planner who tied his own shoes at 4. "Where's Mum?" Maddie said, stopping on the 3rd step. "Mum's at work." "It's 5:50. She picked up a shift." Maddie sat on the step. "Forever?" "For a while," he said. "Some extra ones. I'm going to be home for a bit. I'm going to drive you to the bus and pick up Lily and do the lunches and the homework and the dinner." She thought about that. Maddie thought about things in a way that he sometimes forgot to think about things. Why? He had rehearsed several answers between 3 and 5, and looking up at his eldest, none of them fit. So he gave her the true one, slowly. "The plant closed on Friday," he said. "I don't have my job anymore. Mum is picking up extra shifts, and I'm going to run the house for a while. I'm going to be very good at it, and I'm going to make some mistakes, and I would like it if when I make mistakes you tell me without making your sister cry." Maddie chewed the inside of her cheek. "Okay," she said. "Lily likes the bagels cut in half the long way, not the short way." "Okay. And don't let Eli wear shorts. He will try." "Okay." She came the rest of the way down. At the bottom, she did a thing she had not done since she was 8. She leaned her forehead against his shoulder for one breath and then stepped past him into the kitchen and turned on the toaster. He stood there with the warmth of her forehead still on his shirt. He had not, he realized, been the first one up in this house in a very long time. For 14 years he had been a good father in the way a good father is good when he is also gone 10 hours a day. He had built the swing set. He had been at the recitals. He had read the bedtime book whenever he could be in the room at bedtime. He had loved his children completely, and he had also, he saw now, watched them grow up from a slight distance, the way a man at the back of a theatre watches the play he has helped pay for. The first morning he made it through the way a man makes it through the first day at any new job. He burned a bagel. He could not find the permission slip, and Maddie found it under the fruit bowl. He put Eli on the kindergarten bus at the wrong stop, and the driver, a woman named Marcia, told him patiently where the right stop was and waited while he walked the boy 2 blocks. He came home and stood in the kitchen at 9 with no one in it and did not know what to do next. He started a list. He wrote it on the back of an old envelope at the table. Dishes, laundry, permission slip, vet for Bess, call, Carolina Cobra, resume, Eli reading log, Lily shoes, dinner, spaghetti. Then, because he had been raised by a man who believed a list without a time was a wish, he put times next to them. By the time Lily's bus pulled up at 3:15, he had done 7 of the things. He had not done the resume. He walked her home holding her small mittened hand. She told him about a boy named Theo who had eaten a crayon, and her teacher had not been mad, only sad. Why was she sad? Sam said. Because she was tired, Lily said, in the voice of a person stating something obvious. He thought about that for the next 40 feet. Rachel came home at 7:40. He had spaghetti on the table and 3 children sitting at it and a green salad in a bowl he had decided to make. She stood in the doorway with her coat half off and looked at the table and then at him. You made salad. I made salad. Sam, sit down. She sat down. Eli told her about a boy in his class who could whistle through his teeth. Lily told her the crayon story. Maddie told her, with the careful neutrality of a journalist, that Dad had gotten Eli to the wrong bus stop in the morning and the right one in the afternoon, and was times learning. Rachel laughed for the first time in 3 days. The laugh started low and came out unguarded, and Sam, washing a pan at the sink, closed his eyes a second to hear it. The week became a shape. Tuesday he drove Maddie to violin and waited in the car 45 minutes and discovered he could read a whole novel chapter without picking up his phone. Wednesday he sat with Eli at the kitchen table and watched the boy read aloud from a paperback about a girl and a wolf. And he understood, slowly, that Eli read with his finger because the words moved on him otherwise, and that Eli had been doing this for some time and Sam had not known. He did not say so. He set his hand on the table near the boy's elbow and let him work. Thursday, Lily woke at 4 in the morning crying because she had dreamed her tooth had fallen out and rolled under the refrigerator, and the refrigerator had eaten it. He carried her downstairs and rocked her against his chest in the dark, and her hair smelled like the strawberry shampoo Rachel bought at the grocery store, and he understood that he had not held a sleeping child against his shoulder at 4 in the morning in maybe 6 years. Friday, he called the unemployment office and was on hold for 1 hour and 40 minutes and worked on his resume with the phone on speaker. He printed 3 copies at the library and walked into a small electrical contracting firm on Sycamore on his way to pick Lily up, and left a copy with the woman at the front desk who said her husband had been laid off from the plant too. She did not say it as small talk. She said it the way a person passes another person a tool. By the 2nd week, Lily was taking off her shoes at the door without being asked. By the 3rd, Eli had begun walking into the kitchen after school and putting his backpack on the chair and saying, "Dad, can I tell you something?" the way he used to say it to his mother. The first time he did it, Sam had to put his back to the counter for a second. Rachel was tired in a way that worried him. He waited up on a Tuesday at 11 and rubbed her feet while she sat on the edge of the bed and told him about a man on her unit whose wife had been a teacher at the elementary, and Sam saw, by the way she held her shoulders, that the work was harder than she had let on. "You should sleep in tomorrow," he said. "The kids." "I've got the kids." She looked at him, a long second. "Yeah," she said, "I guess you do." She slept until 9. He took the children to school and came back and found her at the kitchen table in his sweatshirt with both hands around a mug, hair in 2 messy halves, and she looked at him over the rim and said, "Tell me about your day yesterday. Don't leave anything out." He told her about the woman at the contractor's office and Lily's substitute teacher who had given out cinnamon rolls because she was new and frightened. He told her about Eli's finger on the page. He told her that Maddie had asked him on the way to violin whether he was sad about the plant, and that he had told her the truth which was that some days he was and some days he was finding out about other things, and that on most days now it was both. Rachel set her mug down. "I have been gone," she said. "You haven't been gone." "I have been gone for 14 years, she said quietly. "I have been at work. I have come home. I have done the bath and the bedtime, and I have loved them, and I have loved you, and I have not been in the middle of these days. I think you are in the middle of these days now, and Sam, it is what I always wanted for you. I just wish it had not cost what it cost." He sat down across from her. He took her hand. "It cost something," he said. "I think it bought something too." They held hands across the kitchen table at 10 in the morning. The dishwasher hummed. Somewhere upstairs, a child's voice would be back in 5 hours. He thought, this is what people mean when they say they fell in love again. They mean they were standing next to each other and they turned their heads at the same time. In late November, he took a small contract from the firm on Sycamore, 20 hours a week, schematics work, from home. The pay was less than half of what the plant had paid him, and he took it because the schedule meant he was still the one at the bus stop and the one at the kindergarten door. Rachel cried when he told her, which surprised him, because she had not cried about any of it before. "You took less," she said, "on purpose. I took the right one." She put her face against the front of his shirt. "Sam, I have spent 14 years driving home from 12-hour shifts, wishing one of us could be the one who was. I know. I know you know. I know." Christmas was small. They bought one practical thing for each child and one impractical thing, and they made a paper chain. Maddie was old enough now to understand what a paper chain meant in a year like the one they were having, and she did not say so. She helped Lily glue the loops. Eli wrote each loop with a date and a thing that had happened. Dad burned the bagel. Dad picked me up at the right stop. Mum slept till 9. On Christmas Eve, Sam walked the children to the corner to see the Petersons' inflatable reindeer, a tradition as old as any of them could remember. Lily held his right hand. Eli held his left. Maddie walked 2 steps ahead and turned around twice to make sure they were still there. The night was cold and clear, and the stars over Linden Street were the small, ungenerous winter stars that always seemed to be looking elsewhere, and on the way back he found himself walking slowly because he could not bring himself to be done with the walk. At the door, Maddie stopped him with a hand on his sleeve. "Dad, yeah, I'm glad you're home." She said it the way Maddie said things, plain, without performance. Then she went inside. He stood on the porch for a long time after the children had gone in. The kitchen light was on. Through the window, he could see Rachel at the counter, pouring 4 cups of cocoa, one short, one with extra marshmallows, and she looked up and saw him through the glass and lifted the mug as if to ask, "Are you coming in?" And he nodded that he was. He put his hand on the door. In February, the plant in Charlotte would not reopen, and the firm on Sycamore would offer him a full-time role with the same flexibility, and Rachel would drop one of her doubles. In April, Lily would lose the tooth she had dreamed about, in real life, in the living room, and she would hand it to her father because her father was the one who was there. In June, Eli would read a chapter book from cover to cover at the kitchen table while his father made grilled cheese and would close the book and say, "That was a good one, Dad," and Sam would understand that his son had needed an audience all this time and had not had one. But that was all later. For now, it was Christmas Eve, and the kitchen light was on, and the woman he had married was standing inside it, pouring cocoa for the people they had made together. He opened the door. The warmth came out at him in a soft wall. Lily yelled, "Dad, hurry up!" And Eli yelled, "The marshmallows are melting." And Maddie said, with great dignity, "Please come in." He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. He had been a guest in this house, he thought, for a long time. He was not a guest anymore. He had not lost a job. He had inherited a house. He had inherited his own family, who had been waiting for him, patiently, in the kitchen, all along. He hung his coat on the hook and went to help with the cocoa.